Drake? 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 This is what you should have done, bro. This is what you should have done. Now, I know if Drake sees the clip or somebody sees this clip that is a Drake fan, they're going to go, Drake's a zillionaire. He just got his 10th diamond record, bro. Who the fuck are you? What the fuck do you know about anything? Why the fuck would Drake listen to you? I don't know. I don't fucking care, dude. I'm living my life. I'm on fucking the internet right now just fucking talking about shit. So you don't have to listen to me. But Drake should have walked away on top. Hindsight being 2020, of course, but should have walked away when he was on top instead of delineating into this like mobster era, right? Where he kind of completed the narrative arc of Degrassi, underdog, everyone doubted him, hardest worker in the room, grinding, started from the bottom. All these people are doing him wrong. Now he's proven them wrong. Now he's the number one guy in music. So let's timestamp it like 2018-ish, Scorpion, right? Right around there. If he had just walked away there and been like, dude, I'm an amazing actor. Drake's an amazing actor. Drake is really funny. Really funny. Drake, I think, could be a big star in Hollywood. Was a big star. He was a child actor on a hugely successful show that I don't even fully appreciate because I didn't get the Disney Channel or whatever it aired on. Whatever that show aired on, Degrassi, I didn't get that. I remember like hearing winds of it as a kid, like girls from other towns watching it. But I didn't get Degrassi. But from what I understand, it was a really big show. It was a very popular show, especially in Canada. Guy was very famous as a teenager. Was a teen star. He's very funny every time he hosts SNL. He's very funny when there's skits in his music videos. Very funny on social media. If he had walked away and gone into Hollywood, man, like, I don't know if he would have put himself in the position to lose that confrontation with Kendrick Lamar. Because the crazy thing about the confrontation with Kendrick Lamar that nobody talks about, Drake is not a, you know what, the word that I don't want to say on this because I think that's going to get us in trouble. The word, I don't even want to say it, the P word. Drake is not a P word, bro. Okay? He's not. There's no evidence he's a P word. There's none. And that's what ended the battle. Everyone was singing along calling this guy a P word. When he wasn't a P word, there was no evidence that he was a P word. Now, in a sport like hip hop, where everything is about fact, everything is like, you got to be real, bro. You know, you got to really have that, right? Think about 50 Cent versus Ja Rule. 50 Cent was like, you are a pretend gangster, right? And then went after Ja Rule and kind of took Ja Rule out of the game. You know how I know that? I have a lot of memories of loving Ja Rule music from 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. I have very few memories of Ja Rule after 2003. And who comes out in 2003? 50 Cent, right? Because 50 Cent was the real deal, bro. He was like, he really was that guy that was living the life that he was rapping about. And that's going to win out every time. Authenticity is going to win out every single time. You think about Jay-Z versus Nas, man, and Jay-Z he's got the line in Takeover, if you know that song, you know, don't be the next contestant on that Summer Jam screen. What that talks about is that Summer Jam 2001, Jay-Z was premiered Takeover, the first two verses of that song, and he put pictures of Mobb Deep in a ballerina outfit from when the members of Mobb Deep were taking dancing classes at 8 years old. He put that up on the screen. And that line is in this song, Takeover, and he has the proof. Now, I'm ranting like an old man right now because there's a precedent in hip-hop beef where you want to expose the other person. Look at Pusha T. Pusha T beat Drake in that beef because he was like, yo, you have a kid. And it was true. Drake had a kid. And it was shocking. And we're like, oh my God, he got you. He exposed you, Drake, right? But here we are, Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. Kendrick says you're a P word. He's not a P word. He's not. All of Drake, go back and listen to Push-Ups. How does Drake lose that battle? Go back and listen to the Family Matters. Go back to listen to those. Those are like, I don't know about certain particular accusations in that song, but a lot of what he's saying is based in reality. So then you go, well, then how does Kendrick Lamar beat Drake with a lie? And here's your answer. People were ready to turn on Drake. That's the harsh truth. That's like the difficult thing to understand when you take a step back. You're like, yeah, Drake isn't a P word. So like, why do we all side with Kendrick? A, that song is maybe the catchiest hip hop song since The Real Slim Shady. I mean, that song is so catchy. Not like us. That song is so catchy, children could sing it. And that's why I use the example of The Real Slim Shady. I was a child and learned all those naughty words in that song because it was like a nursery rhyme. So how could he have done that? How could he have beaten Drake with just a lie? Right? Here's Drake coming with all these facts, right? These great songs, intensities. Like, I mean, Drake is going down the list if you go back and listen to Push-Ups. Just dissecting everybody, going at everybody that went against him. And a lot of the time, you got to listen to those records. You go, man, Drake's got a point, bro. He did help a lot of these people, bro. Anyways, you take a step back and you go, oh, it's because everyone was ready to turn on Drake because we get sick of things, bro. We get sick of everything. You can only be interested in something for so long. Everything. We talked a lot about nostalgia earlier tonight. It's like all these old sodas you miss. Oh, Pepsi Blue, bro. Yo, I wish they would bring back Pepsi Blue. Yo, Sprite Remix was the best. And I'm guilty of this too. You know why they stopped making those sodas? Because we stopped drinking those sodas, bro. The classic one I deal with every day of my life, bro, seemingly, right? Oh man, why doesn't MTV play music videos anymore? Because we stopped watching music videos, bro. That's why they stopped playing music videos. We get sick of things. And I think people got just tired of Drake. They were ready to turn on Drake. And I don't know if people really bought Drake being like this like criminal. Because a lot of his music became about like criminal activity, which is what hip hop was becoming at the time, lyrically, in the early 2020s. And so you could argue to stay relevant, to stay fresh. That's what Drake was doing. Drake was like, I'm going to do that. But it's a weird trajectory to understand that in the mind. You're like, wait, okay. So like you started off and maybe you didn't have a lot of money, but you were a child actor. Were in commercials as a kid. I'm not saying you're rich. I'm not saying you had it easy. But like, I gotta imagine that's a better life than most. Then you get on, you sign a very lucrative record deal. 22 years old. How old is Drake when he signs with Young Money? 22, 23, anyways. And then has a bonanza of a music career. I mean, just like he's got his own jet. Anyways, very legitimate business. It's very hard to understand the trajectory to go from that to then getting into crime, which lyrically that was like the narrative. And it started with analogies, like crime analogies. And then it just kind of got to a point where it was like, it transcended analogies and it was like claiming to spin blocks or toe tag people. And I just think that's a really hard narrative to understand. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not here to debate whether or not that's the life that Drake's leading. I just think it's a strange narrative to understand because the classic narrative in hip hop is like, like Jay-Z, again, I'll go back to Jay-Z. He talks about back in the day, he's like, I'm paraphrasing, but he talks in songs about, I sold drugs. So you don't do that. Like I had to go through that. Don't you do that. And there's a lesson learned there. I think that's a big thing in stories. Like, we need to see the hero learn lessons and conquer whatever obstacles the hero faced. It's very rare, if not weird, for the hero to never learn the lesson. It's like Drake talking today about women treating him badly or not seeing his value or treating him wrong or him trying to get revenge on a girl. That rules at 25. When he's 25, you're like, man, I'm 25 too. And man, like, that's what I'm going through now too with these women. But you go through some bad relationships in life. You go through some toxic situations. You go through dating the wrong girl. You go through living the wrong kind of life. Drake is almost 40. He's not 40. Drake is 38 now. It's tough from a narrative perspective to understand, how has the hero not learned this lesson? Because he's like, and who are these women, bro? Who are these women that are treating a guy as successful as Drake badly? Like, who are these women not getting the 411? Like, yo, don't mess this up and you're set, bro. Don't mess this up and you're sitting pretty the rest of your life here. So you have this hero that isn't learning lessons, and then you also have this hero that built this amazing career in a legitimate business and now wants to get into crime. Like, that never happens. At least not in a story arc. And so that then leads to a point where people in the industry are probably getting sick of this in terms of his peers. Like, yo, like, really? And then he drops first person shooter. I don't even think he mentioned Kendrick in the song. And then that sets Kendrick off. And you got to imagine that's the catalyst for Kendrick having, I think that's his best album, this GNX album. But also it's probably his most mainstream album if you think about it. So again, consider the messenger when I say that. But if Drake had just walked away in 2018, he wouldn't have had to delineate into this crime era that I think sets up the Kendrick era. And Drake's going to be fine, by the way. Nokia is a smash, top 10 record. Didn't beat Kendrick, though, right? Luther stayed at number one with Kendrick and SZA. Nokia, you could tell, was positioned to try to go number one. He waited until consumption of Luther went down a little bit, not to get too geeky with chart terms. Drops the video for Nokia, and it still doesn't do it. Peaks at number two. So, again, that's better than 99.9999999% of other artists. He's peaking at number 2 on the Billboard US Hot 100. But it's the adversary still won, even in that confrontation. So you think about these things when you're a music nerd like me.